I want you to think about that precious, cute little 2-year-old. They're smiling and they're laughing, they're running around and they're having a good time. And then in the next second, something doesn't go their way and they're squealing and they have thrown themselves into the floor. Well, that is an example of emotions that go up and down. Some people are very emotional and they can change on a dime how they're feeling. They can change on a dime how they're feeling. But then others are steady and even. Why is that? I talk a lot about our perception of things and how we all see things differently. I talk a lot about personality styles and how that colors every choice, decision, and how you do everything in your life. Well, today we're looking at emotions and what that means to your family, to you, to your spouse, and really all your relationships. Because any of us, when we get frustrated, we act another way that is probably not our usual behavior. So, frustration, sometimes over and over and over, and we're pushed in a corner, causes us to act differently than usual. My husband and I have a rental property. And we go in, and our perception of that rental property is different. When my husband looks at what needs to be done in that house, and usually there's a lot when we walk into a house where somebody just moved out, he looks at it and he just looks at the first thing that he's going to do. It might be right in front of him. It might be, of course, like to get all the junk out of the house if there's junk in there. But when I go in, I stop and look and I assess the whole room, the whole project, and I think, well, what needs to be done first so that while one thing is being done, like paint drying, we can be working on something else in the kitchen or whatever. So my husband is Johnny on the spot. He is ready at any moment to help you or help me with anything I need right then and there. But for me, if there's something to be done, I'm going to think about it. And I'm going to think first if I want to do it right now or I don't. And I'm also going to have a plan of how I can do it the fastest and the quickest. And that is one example of a different perception, how we see things, right? But when we get married, there's all these different ways of doing things, and it causes us to butt heads sometimes, right? So today, I'm going to look at the emotions and how that affects you and how that affects your spouse and your kids and your friends and the people at work and anybody you're around. What if I told you that emotions are absolutely predictable upon your human behavior style, or what I call personality? Let me share the 4 styles with you. You can have any 4 of these styles or any combination of the styles. First of all, I want you to think about genetics. That happens to be one of the odd things I remember from science in school that I thought was quite interesting. How 2 people get married and maybe one's blonde headed and one's got black hair. And then the children, whether they have black hair or blonde hair, whether they got mom's green eyes or dad's brown eyes, whether they got height from their dad or whatever. Genetics. It's kind of the same thing. 2 people get married and you can have any combination of any genetics that are in those 2 people. Well, personalities are kind of the same. There's 4 specific styles, but you can have any combination of these 4 styles. Let's look at the 4 top emotions. If fear is your top emotion, then you're going to find yourself very cautious. And that means you take your time in making decisions. You like to gather the information before you make a decision. Also, if fear is your top emotion, then you usually think of what can go wrong. If fear is your top emotion, you look at your kids and you're afraid for them to go out the door. You see the world in a way of all the things that can go wrong. Well, if that's your top emotion, sometimes we have to fight that a little bit, and sometimes we're attracted to people that are opposite of us so that we can not be afraid or not have that fear all the time. That does not mean that the person who has fear as their top emotion is afraid of everything. It just means they are very cautious. Now, think of someone who is always positive. Someone who is always positive. That means they always see the best in every situation. So something can really be going wrong, but they keep their spirits up because they see whatever is good in that situation. And they may really twist it around to find what is good. But that means in everything that they do, they see the best. They see the best in you. They see the best in the situation. They see the best in everything because their top emotion is positivity. That means they might not be able to see what can go wrong. So that could be a challenge. One of the tough emotions to deal with is anger. If your top emotion is anger, or your spouse's top emotion is anger, then anything and everything can make them mad. They might be stressed. They're simply stressed out and they react to you in an angry manner. They're mad. And you think it's about you. But actually it's about how they're feeling at the time because it's their top emotion. If something goes wrong at work, they are angry. If dinner's not on the table, they're angry. If they can't find their socks, they're angry. See, it could be something simple, but they still react and speak with anger. So you can have any combination of the different personality styles, but when your emotion is one of these four, which is fear, non-emotional. Did I do the non-emotional? No, I didn't do it yet. Fear, non-emotional, anger, or positivity, then that colors all your decisions and how you do everything. Let me share the last one because I realized I didn't do that. Non-emotional. Now, this is the preferred emotion because it's non-emotional. That doesn't mean they don't have feelings. It just means they don't show their emotion. They're calm. They're collected. They're non-emotional. In fact, when you ask these people something to help you with something, they usually say yes because they really don't mind. They're like not upset. They're not angry. They're very selfless, actually selfless, and they're not emotional, and they'll help you with anything that you ask. They're really easy to get along with, but there are drawbacks to that too. All right, so I'm Connie Durham, and you can find me at conniescleverconcepts.com, and you can find all kinds of things on marriage and getting along with your spouse.